Well, good morning. I know what you're thinking about right now. I can tell. You're not thinking about the fourth Sunday of Advent. You're thinking about Christmas already. You're jumping the gun on us. But we can't do that because we got something really important for us today. We have, it just feels though like, the greeting should be, welcome to the fourth Sunday of Advent, Merry Christmas. But that's the feeling I get with today. But it's a beautiful, beautiful time of the year. The peace of God just seems to be so palpable this time of the year. People are happier. Even I'm hearing greetings of Merry Christmas even in retail places. That there's something good happening. When you hear that instead of, oh, happy holidays, flat. Okay. We need to look at this a little bit today to dig into Luke. Luke was a physician, and he has two major works in our New Testament. The Gospel, which we read from today, and Luke also composed the Acts of the Apostles, one of the greatest books of the New Testament, because it chronicles and exemplifies all of the work of the early church. The glory of God manifested in the early church, from Jerusalem, Samaria, to the ends of the earth, that they traveled with the gospel message. And Luke wrote this account of the early church in the Acts of the Apostles. And there's this phrase, full of grace, that he uses in the Acts of the Apostles. For example, he talks about Stephen. Stephen, one of the first deacons, 7 deacons were ordained, and Stephen was out and about performing signs and wonders. And Luke says he was full of grace. And then we back up and we go, oh, wait a minute, let's go back to the gospel. Let's look at that again. The angel Gabriel calls to Mary, hail, full of grace. Now, Luke used 2 different words for these instances. We don't see it with the English. We have to peel the English language off and go back to the Greek text of the Bible to get the meaning. When it speaks of Stephen as being full of grace, the word Luke used was pleris charitos, which is literally just full of grace, God's grace. But the word for Mary, when the angel said full of grace, was kakaratomini. Can we say that together? I'm giving you a test here. Kakaratomini. Give it a try. Come on. Kakaratomini. That word is really special. It's only used one time in the whole of the Bible. And this is used for Mary. And it means she was previously filled with grace. She's filled with grace now. And she will be perpetually filled with the grace of God. When you couple that beautiful scriptural testimony to her sinless beauty, and the numerous references to her in the Old Testament in terms of her being the queen of a mother and the Ark of the Covenant, and all of the beautiful typologies and the prophecies, especially Isaiah that says, and behold, the virgin will conceive and bear a son. The scriptures alone, in addition to the earliest traditions of the following of understanding of who Mary really was and is to us, is profound. But Mary had a problem. It says that she was troubled, greatly troubled over this greeting. Hail, full of grace. Well, the first thing that would have given her trouble, most likely, was the word hail. Hail was used to address royalty. Hail Caesar. Diabolically, Heil Hitler. Hail was a very powerful word. And so she probably, as a young, probably 14-year-old young virgin, beautiful girl, thought, royalty? What do you mean? She probably didn't understand that she would attain the title of Queen of Heaven and Queen of Earth. Hail. And a title instead of her name, Mary. Mary alone is a beautiful name, and even in the Canaanite culture, they understood Mary as the exalted one. Miriam, from the Old Testament, it comes out of that rich tradition of Miriam, with Moses, leading as a star of the sea through the Red Sea to the Promised Land. Miriam. But the angel did not address her by her given name. He addressed her as full of grace, kakaratomini. And then Gabriel said, Mary, chill out, basically. Don't be afraid, because God has this. God has this. He has a great future, a plan for your life. You will conceive and bear a child who will be the Son of the Most High. And then she's even more confused. Wait a minute, I'm a virgin. I know no man. How is that going to happen? And the angel Gabriel tells her simply, well, the Holy Spirit is going to overshadow you, and you will bear a child, and you'll name him Jesus. And then she said simply, behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word. In that brief verse there, in her response of assent, behold is the same meaning of the text that we get in the Old Testament when the prophets were called by God. And they said, behold, here I am, Lord. I come to do your will. I come to do your will. And she is the handmaid of the Lord. The handmaid was the lowest of the female servants of a household. They were at hand, literally, to do whatever they were asked to do. I'm the handmaid of the Lord. Her profound humility comes forth, and her total assent to God through the word. Her assent was profoundly humble in giving herself completely to the divine will. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, God then assumes our human nature in this womb of her, the sweet young virgin, the one full of grace. God then veiled himself in human flesh, humbling and emptying himself and suspending his rightful claims to the rights and privileges of divinity. Mary said yes, and the world was changed forever. And of this event, the Navarre Bible comments, the Annunciation to Mary and incarnation of the Word constitute the deepest mystery of the relationship between God and men, and the most important event in the history of mankind. In all of human history, the most important event. God becomes man and will remain so forever, and such is the extent of his goodness and mercy and love for all of us. Jose Maria Escriva said, let us turn our eyes toward Mary. No creature ever surrendered herself to the plans of God more humbly than she. And I think if we pause here for a moment to gather this all in, it would be clear to us that Mary is the perfect model for us. A perfect model of open-ended and absolute assent to the will of God. I like to put myself in the situation. How would you respond to a calling or some kind of an encounter of that nature? Well, Jesus has come, of course, but he calls us. In the Apocalypse, in the book of Revelation, he says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice, the word, and opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him, and he with me, the Eucharist. So, how would he address us? Certainly not hail. I don't see royalty among us. And certainly not kakaratomini, because we were all victims of circumstance, of the original sin. And we all were regenerated, needed the regenerating waters of baptism to bring new life to us. And we are filled with that new life every time we partake of the Eucharist. No, I imagine Jesus might say to us, if we could just reflect on this a minute, peace be with you. Do not be afraid, for I have called you by name, and you are mine. I have redeemed you and have loved you with an everlasting love. Mary said yes, and the Word became flesh. The true light that enlightens everyone came into the world to be light in the darkness and hope for despair. God bless.